Hello and welcome to this edition of You Can Get There From Here. I'm Dr. Joe Moore, Chair of the Department of Communication and Digital Media Production at the University of Central Missouri, and it is my pleasure every week to get to visit with some of our alumni. We talk to some folks who graduated with a degree in digital media production, others who got their degree in communication studies, and some who got their master's degrees. We talk about what they're doing today and how the program helped them get there. Today, my guest is Alex Agueros. Alex was a graduate of digital media production who was the sports editor of the student newspaper, The Mule Skinner. And today he is social media director for Boyd Gaming. Alex, it's great to have you with us today. How are you doing?
Hey, I'm pretty good. Better now. Good to
Better
see you,
now?
Joe.
Good to see you too. You were talking about before we went on about you're making calendars. We're going to get into all of that, but that sounds like something that's people might have one thing in mind, but it's a totally different ball game what you're talking about. So give us a little bit of your backstory. Where are you from and what led you to UCM?
All right. I am from Warrensburg. I went through public school there, elementary school, high school, and took advantage. My dad was an employee at the university, and so kind of took advantage of those benefits to attend in home or in my hometown. And I had a great time. I have really no regrets. It was kind of funny seeing my hometown in a different light and going through with another chapter in my life, but in a comfortable setting.
Did it ever occur to you to get, I've been raised here. I want to go somewhere else. I want to get out of town. Was that ever a drive for you?
Yeah, it crossed my mind.
Yeah.
It crossed my mind. I would say UCM offered what I wanted to do. The benefit of my dad working here helps as far as tuition and stuff. And and looking back on that experience, I don't think it like I was in my hometown, but it didn't feel like it. It feels
Yeah.
like I crossed the train tracks. So
Yeah. All three of my kids have gone to school here and my two boys are here right now. And they both were like, Dad, we were born and raised here. We like the university. We think it's great, but we'd like to see something else. And I was like, that's fine. Look around, see things. Keep in mind that, the university is not Warrensburg. It's almost a entity unto itself, even if you live at home. And about a week into both of their freshman years, they came home and said, Dad, you weren't kidding. This is totally different. So
right, yeah, to some extent, there are benefits to leaving and traveling, but to some extent, that experience comes to you when you're a townie, as we're colloquially termed, But I have a lot of friends from St. Louis, Springfield, Lawrence, different parts of our region that I sort of met in my hometown because of
yeah.
UCM. So it did broaden my horizons, even though it was home.
Yeah. Now, folks, you're hearing the voice and you're probably thinking, God, this guy had to be in radio. I tried. I did. I tried to get him to be a broadcaster, but he was a writer at heart. And so after college, and honestly, while you were in college, you got your first job. So tell us about that a little bit.
Yeah, my first job directly out of college, and also my first internship while I was in college was at the Sedalia Democrat, a daily newspaper in Sedalia, Missouri, about 30 minutes away from Warrensburg. And I spent a lot of time there, about almost 6 years being their sports editor. And it did challenge me to leverage my multimedia skills that I picked up from the DMP program. I was a writer through and through at the Mule Skinner. We had incredibly talented photographers. My whole all 4 years I was working there, I did not need to pick up the camera until I kind of did, and I'm really thankful for that experience, even though it was being thrown to the wolves. I look back on those old photos like, man, I can't believe we even published those, and because I came a long way doing that, and without the concepts that I was sort of taught in classes like media aesthetics and um, things like that, I wouldn't have stayed there as long as I did. I wouldn't have
Yeah.
lasted.
I think you're being a little humble. I remember your work. It was always very good, very good. So then you left. the Sedalia Democrat, and you went straight from there to Boyd, correct?
That's right.
Okay, so tell us about that and what you're doing now.
So I'm the social media specialist at Boyd Gaming, where I am. I like to say I service three properties. I'm based at Ameristar, Kansas City, and I help with Kansas Star Casino in Wichita, or just south of Wichita, and Diamond Joe Worth near the Iowa-Minnesota border. If you've ever gone up 35 long enough, you may have seen like a water tower, or yeah, that's one of my properties that I help out.
Okay, I've been by there. All right. So,
Hmm.
so Boyd, I've been by there. Have family up in Minnesota. My wife's family's up that way, so we went up there, and I've seen that. All right.
Yep.
So Boyd Gaming is what? What does Boyd Gaming do?
They are a gaming corporation. They own and operate more than 20 casinos and entertainment properties around the country. They're based in Las Vegas, so a majority of their properties are in Vegas. Lots like the Fremont downtown and the Cal, the Cal, the Orleans, things like that.
Okay, so not video games. You're talking like gambling and
Yeah,
casino
correct.
games,
I
stuff
kind
like
of forget inside the walls of the back of house at casino. We use gaming a lot more
that.
than gambling.
Gotcha, gotcha. And so you're the social media specialist. So what all do you do with that?
So I like to break down my roles as a sort of a content creator. Like I said, putting out the calendars. We try to work a couple weeks ahead for all three properties, and I deliver at least a week's worth of content ahead of time to get proofed and approved and edited. Another role is sort of an arm of PR for them, really, for both all three properties. I answer the Google reviews that come in, or Yelp, or Expedia, because some properties also have a hotel tied to the property. There's a lot of feedback that I manage as far as that goes, where they're saying thank you or acknowledging a concern or something like that.
Okay, so that's really interesting to me because I teach a media promotions class, and when we talk about using social media for promotion and marketing, so often we think about how to get our message out there, and we don't stop and think about the two-way interaction that social media provides and the environmental scanning that comes with it. So you manage that as well, I take it.
Yeah, yeah, and I wish it was a bit more formal, but it really does feel like vibes sometimes where I'm like, there's a lot of reviews about I don't know, the bathrooms or something lately. And that only comes from having been here a few years and having a point of reference of how often people should be commenting on the bathrooms via Google reviews. The
Yeah.
bathrooms here are very clean.
Good to know. Very good to know. So how did your experience in digital media production, how did that help prepare you for board gaming?
Oh man, that's why I'm here to tell you. Like it's sort of everything. I wasn't. It's not like I took classes on how to make posts or how to reply to guests or something. But it does feel like every day I'm sort of leaning on or reflecting on some of the foundational concepts. Even as I took a class on listening. That was sort of it, not in the base DMP, but it was
Hmm.
sort of required, or I found myself in that class as part of the communications umbrella, and I found myself leaning on even that class. How to apologize is a great lesson that sticks with me. Sort of acknowledging someone's feelings, why they understand why this would happen, um, explaining of having a conscious conscious action you'd like to take to help remedy, and then just really foundational stuff, whether it's listening, communication, graphic design, even composition of photography or videography, how to write effectively using concise language but specific verbs, and saving the right noun, or whatever the most effective word for like the end of the sentence, little things like that. I mean, it's everything.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. So right out of school, or again, while you were in school, you got your job as a sports editor. And people may think, well, yeah, he's in gaming. Two very different things, right? So how did that experience prepare you for what you're doing today?
Good question. I would say it came in a little lacking as far as like gaming knowledge goes. I know how to play blackjack and like the rules of things, but slot machines can be quite complex, and it's not like I had a bone up on that sort of specific industry knowledge and slang. However, one of the valuable things about DMP was that a lot of the skills from working at the paper or just classes very much translated here. I'm in Photoshop all the time, with photography I took of a food special or a concert we held, and I'm reflecting on rule of thirds and subject and where to line things up, and just lessons of composition that I learned at DMP applied to sports photography in Sedalia, and now applying to cheeseburgers at Ameris Sports.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I really like about the communication studies degree that we have and the digital media production is we're teaching you skills. We're teaching you how to do things. But then you're going to get out in industry, and each industry is going to be a little bit different, and you're going to have to learn their language and how they do things. Did you get from your experience? I hope you got from your experience. You learned how to learn. You learned how to do the research and how to gather the information to be able to do your job.
Yeah, not just at UCM during my time in the program, because I feel like that was like a main function of school, no matter what it was you were learning.
Yeah.
If you didn't make time to sit down and like write down or go over your notes or read the book, I don't know how successful things were for you, even if you're in a different major.
Mhm.
But especially at Sedalia, it sort of hit me that I'm sort of synthesizing a lot of different channels of communication. And, I would get home or get back to the desk, and I would receive scores from via text message. If it's a basketball night, we get it in a text message, a voicemail, an email, maybe a picture of the scorebook was texted to me. Like I had to process and synthesize so many different channels that it did sort of help reveal, what was important, what was the protein of this message. And it's a lot of yeah, you have to apply that to whatever job you get as well.
So how many years have you been at Boyd now?
3 years. I crossed 3 years last month.
Okay, I was trying to think when you left Sedalia and went up there. So sounds like you're enjoying it. Sounds like things are going great for you. That makes me so happy. I love it when our alumni go out there and they find their thing and they get excited about it. So the last question I have for you is kind of a two-part question, and it's the way I like to end up every one of these podcasts. Number one, what advice would you give to a current UCM student? Number two, what advice would you give to a student who's thinking about coming to UCM to study communication or digital media?
Right on. So for current students, um, my advice would be to like hit the books, um, read your materials. There was a couple, especially when I was working and going to school, that it was difficult for me to balance. And I see a meme about it now where you're cramming for a test right before something important. You're like, man, this would have been pretty interesting to learn about if I didn't have just tonight, and really there's no other time to do it. The once you're out, I like to joke, and it's only a half joke. It feels like the rest of the world just is trying to make you dumber. There's no place else that maybe it's up in the air for some people's experiences, but it's like no other place is directly channeling like good information towards you with good intentions. Everywhere else is an ad, or some form of yeah. So that's what I would say. Once you're out, you're going to wish you had the time to read the books and go back and check on dictionary terms and stuff like that. I still have some of my textbooks, and I do try to reference them if I'm curious, but there was no other. I wasn't reading. Yeah, I did a lot more reading in college.
Well, my boys will come home from school and they're telling me these things that they've learned in college in their classes, and I sit there thinking, I remember studying that at one point, but I don't know that I really learned that. And I think to myself, man, I wish I'd paid a little more attention when I was in college.
Well,
Okay,
yeah,
so
you don't use it, you lose it, without practicing it. Like
yep.
I really mean it. It does feel like everywhere else, all the messaging I get outside, once you graduate is like selling me something or making me stupid enough to buy something.
All right, so now advice for somebody who's thinking about coming to UCM.
I guess I would sort of reference the title of the show. You can do it with the tools provided at UCM. And maybe more specifically, like just kind of go out and get it when you get here. My first couple semesters, it would have been really easy to just sort of turtle shell and be, you know, I'm just in my hometown and just stay who I was. But I volunteered and joined a bunch of activities, some of which I quit because I didn't like it or didn't have the time to commit forever toward it. But I feel like it helped. You're going to get out what you put in, and it's available at UCM.
Well, I appreciate that plug for the title. That's great. Alex, thank you so much for being on today. I'm excited for where you are. I have to get up there to Kansas City. I'm not much of a gambler. I'm not very good at it, but I'll have to pop up there and see if I can run into you sometime. So,
Well, no one's real good at it. That's but we do have concerts, and we've got restaurants. There's plenty to do for someone who's older than 21.
I
And
can eat. I can eat. I can
yeah,
take you up on
there you
that
go. I'll
one.
see
So,
you soon, then.
all right, Alex, thanks for being on. Appreciate you. We're proud of you.
Thank you.
And thanks all of you for tuning in. Remember, you can catch every episode on our YouTube channel through the UCM Media Network. That's youtube.com/UCMMN. You can also listen on Spotify. Special thanks to Jake Mager for creating our theme music. This is Dr. Joe Moore reminding you, you can get there from here. Have a great day.